We are back. It's our final segment with Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney. We can get some calls. I get the sense some people may be sitting back, especially after the storms last night, and listening, and a lot of people do. But you can call if you have a question. But I think it's instructive to talk a little bit about, just how this works, who represents what. And believe it or not, I think there are a lot of people out there that think when they sue for malpractice, you're going after the doctor's pocketbook, which, if a doctor made a mistake, you should, I suppose. But they have lawyers, they're represented, and there's insurance.
Yeah, if nothing else from today, I hope that the public takes away, doctors have insurance to cover these claims. Hospitals have insurance. It's their own coverage that covers these claims. No one's paying money out of their own pocket, okay? There is insurance to cover every one of these claims. And so, the jurors hear these cases, and I'm afraid some of them look at it and go, well, we don't want to give a big enough verdict because we're afraid the doctor won't know how to pay it. I'm sure there are other jurors on there that are savvy enough to say, now, wait a minute, this guy's got to have insurance. They do. They all have insurance. That's what the purpose of insurance is to compensate in cases where there are meritorious claims and patients should be paid. So that's something to keep in mind is they all have insurance. They all have attorneys hired by the insurance company to represent them, and I'm talking about the physicians as well as nurses. That goes for nurses, physicians, all healthcare providers these days have insurance. And again, as I told you, the hospitals have their own group of law firms that represent them. And so, that's the way our system is built, is we don't want to harm healthcare providers personally. We want to make sure, though, our clients get compensated, and that's where the insurance comes in.
Let's take a phone call from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, good morning. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi. I have a question. My question is, I had a doctor. I fell and hit my head on the toilet, and I went back to that neurologist at the time, and he didn't check me out. He just said, oh, you have a bump on your head. The next day I could not move. I could not move. I had to call emergency. And they came and got me, and then they gave me a shot at the hospital, but they never actually done x-rays or MRIs at the hospital either. They just let me go home. Because on my medical records, it was said bipolar. So ever since I was diagnosed bipolar, I've been mistreated by doctors. And they say, well, you're crazy, or, they have done a lot of things. I now have a neck problem. I have a speech problem. And this could have been addressed a long time ago.
And you think it's the result of the blow you took to the head?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And my question is, this doctor, actually, I called him the next following day, and what happened was, I said, I'm in excruciating pain, would you have your family member in this? He kicked me out of the office and told me if I was coming back to his office, I would be arrested. Because I just made that statement. Wouldn't you treat your family members this way? Because he said there was nothing wrong, and I knew something was wrong. And that I have so much anxiety to go to doctors now because of that situation.
So sorry.
Her story is very common. And it's once they determine that someone has a psychological or psychiatric disorder, and there's any type of what appears to be brain damage or some type of mental problems, there is the easy answer, which is to believe that that patient is simply suffering the consequences of the psychological disorder. And they think these people, like Elizabeth, they're crazy.
Well, she hit her head.
I know. And so the problem is the healthcare provider instantly jumps to the conclusion that she's crazy when she may well have a traumatic brain injury that needs to be treated. She's lucky she's alive. And that's the problem with healthcare providers these days, is they don't have enough time and they don't have enough inclination to spend with patients to figure out what's really going on. They just make an instant diagnosis. This person's bipolar, she's probably crazy. And I would imagine that's why the staff treat her the way they treat her, is they think, oh, well, she's just nuts. She's not for real. She's coming here either looking for pills, or she's just got some, issue mental issue from her psychological problems. It's not serious. And it's not fair to people like her because in her situation, you get really hurt. You deserve to have a full diagnosis, a full treatment plan, independent of whether or not you're bipolar.
Right. And she had a lump on her head. I mean, you wouldn't. It's just odd. So you think they wouldn't have treated her properly because of it? I mean, it sounds to me like they
exactly
didn't.
What I'm saying.
They didn't. Well, I mean, but still, I mean, she's got this lump. She's complaining of this, and
based on what
that's what she's saying.
Based on what she's saying, that's exactly what it sounds like. Is she wasn't treated appropriately because they think she's crazy.
Well, let me ask you this then: does that mean that she? And thank goodness she was able to call us. But let's say she had gone home. They failed to look, and let's just say, hypothetically, she had a fractured skull, and then she ended up going into a coma because of a brain bleed the next day. That was clearly something they should have caught when she went in.
That'd be a case I'd take.
Would she have a case?
Absolutely, and it's a case I would take, and I'd take in a heartbeat because she deserves to get proper medical care and attention, regardless of what her pre-existing illnesses are. I mean, what good are doctors and hospitals if they're not going to treat you? And they're not going to diagnose you if they just go with the quick, oh well, you know, it's just her. It's not really what's going on inside. And so absolutely that would be a medical negligence case, and one that I would definitely want to take. And that's almost reckless to just say the reason for your problems are bipolar. It's not that you busted your head and have a mild traumatic brain injury.
You know what goes the other side these days? It seems like you go to the doctor nowadays and it may be something relatively simple, but when I've been a couple times, they order up everything now. It's kind of like I get the sense that they're so concerned that maybe they'll miss something or send you home, and then you'll make the claim that they didn't test for this, that they line you up for the test, which, by the way, get a little spendy. But have you noticed that at all? Is that the other way maybe with some doctors, like, well, we're not sure, so let's just run a battery of tests instead of maybe going to what's most likely?
Well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
You go into the hospital and you don't know what's wrong with you, but you're concerned, your family's concerned. Which would you rather have? The doctor touches you on the shoulder, says, you're going to be okay, Nick, just take a couple aspirin and call me in the morning. Or do you want the other doctor that engages all the battery of tests defensively to try to figure out what's wrong with you and make sure that they don't send you home with a life-threatening condition? Which doctor do you want?
That's obvious. I would go with the second, but what I'd ideally like is a doctor that falls somewhere in the middle, that talks to me, gets an idea of what it is, and then says, let's test for this first. Because I've been in some situations where it's just a quick thing and then they order up a bunch. And maybe it's because they really have no clue. But I'd rather have them have an idea of what it is, and let's test for that before we run this whole battery of tests.
Well, let's go back to Elizabeth.
Okay.
It's what we call a differential, they call in the medical profession, differential diagnosis. You put down what the likely diagnoses are, but on that list you ask yourself, is one of these life-threatening? For example, with Elizabeth, is it possible she's having a brain bleed? Which is a consideration anytime there's any type of fracture, head blow. You must rule out the life-threatening condition first. Must rule it out. You can't send somebody home without ruling it out, because if you don't rule it out and the patient goes home and dies from it, that's going to be a medical negligence claim. You see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why you run these tests to rule out these conditions.
Okay, and you're right. I'd far have the second one than the first one. You're right. You're right.
One of my first cases I ever had was a guy that went into the hospital with chest pain. Okay. He was seen by a physician assistant. The physician assistant assumed it was gastrointestinal. And gave him what's called a GI cocktail. Well, the GI cocktail made the patient feel better. Okay. He sent the patient home. The next day, the patient had a massive heart attack and died. He was having anginal pain. The physician assistant didn't rule out heart attack as being the cause for the pain. He just went with what he thought was the most likely diagnosis, because the patient said...
But didn't rule out the dangerous
said, I'm hurting
one.
after eating dinner. Do you see what I mean?
Great examples, Clint. Well, I stand corrected. Let's go to Mike real quick. Mike, good morning. Hi, Mike.
Hello?
Hello, Mike. Go ahead. We just got about 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah. I recently just got out of the hospital, and well, my concern was the emergency room and the hospital have two different doctors. And if you're diagnosed with the wrong one, as far as when you go in the emergency room, like I suffer from chronic COPD, and I failed and fractured my ribs. So when I went to the emergency room, they said that they x-rayed me on the little portable x-rays. Said I had bruised ribs, which I couldn't breathe deep. They kept trying to get me to breathe deep, and I couldn't because of the pain. And so they took two x-rays, and they said that I'd had bruised ribs. So they released me and sent me back home. Later that day, I got hurt so bad I couldn't breathe. They had to call an ambulance to come get me taken back to the hospital. And they finally diagnosed me with fractured ribs.
Hang tight. I had to cut him off. We only have like a minute for you to respond to that.
What he's talking about is the emergency room physician is a particular type of healthcare provider. When you get into the hospital, when you're admitted, you come under the care of what's called a hospitalist, or it may be a specialist, whether, like in his case, a pulmonologist for a lung condition. Those two doctors are different, and they can come to different diagnoses. The difference is when you go to the ER, there is an ER diagnosis, but when you're admitted to the hospital, they basically are supposed to start over to try to determine, first of all, was the ER physician correct, and is there additional treatment that needs to be given? So he's right. There are two different doctors you deal with when you're admitted.
Missing broken ribs. Not sure if someone like that would have a case. That's a tough one. I feel sorry for him on that. Listen, real quick, in the last minute, I want to remind folks, sometimes doctors will say, well, why don't you wait and let's see if you get better and get better and get better. One reason sometimes doctors do that is it's legit. Let's see how it turns out. Sometimes they like you to wait a year.
Right, and that's very, very important that you don't wait a year. Anytime you think, or you have a family member or friend who has been the victim of medical negligence, make sure you call me or call another malpractice lawyer immediately. Do not waste a day, because there's a 1-year statute of limitations. The law is very stringent. They will not let your case go forward if you wait 1 year and 1 day longer than when the injury occurred. So, and there's no reason to wait, because the call's free, the consultation. You don't pay anything unless money is obtained in terms of a settlement or jury verdict. So it costs nothing. It can make the difference between someone being able to pay their bills and pay their medical expenses versus somebody that's going to suffer the rest of their life because they don't have any money to pay.
Yeah, every time we do this show, I always make sure you say that. There's a 1-year statute of limitations, and Clint has told me on more than one occasion he's had cases that have come through his door that he said, wow, you have a case, this is a good one, let's go. When did it happen? Happened 18 months ago.
Can't take it.
Can't take it. And here's someone who had a case and didn't. So always make sure you reach out when you have a suspicion. As you said, they'll get through to your office. And by the way, after you leave us, we'll have the contact information, so stick around. You get the basics, and then you'll let them know if you can take the case if you can't.
Absolutely. I mean, we do a full intake, and then after that's done, we'll write the patient, call the client, and I will write them as well to confirm what my opinion is on the case, and it costs nothing. It's free.
Clint, we'll see you again soon, my friend. Take a break. Back with his information right after this.